Now, building on such most important key words with which such a beautiful lover God has lovely and generously aimed getting his lover to know the truth, such a key word which is the proper. Let us directly go for the another proper mean line, another proper detailed explanation, which is coming as usual properly and already in its certain place as well, which is coming as usual properly and already in its certain place in such a beautiful bestowed proving paradise complete building as well. Another mean line, another detailed explanation by of course such a beautiful lover God upon the truth, that it is undoubtedly the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The main line which is properly and already with us now is such a beautiful lover God never, ever, at all aimed whatever any little kind of punishment to his lover, neither in this first world life nor also in the hereafter as well. Building on such whole those beautiful detailed explanations so far by such our beautiful lover God, is it reasonable or acceptable or properly to believe that such that beautiful lover God, way or another, could ever aim whatever any little kind of punishing to his lover? Of course not. It is impossible. So, for those verses in which such a beautiful lover God has mentioned the word punishment, either in this first world life or in the hereafter, such as stoning the fornicators and cutting the hands of the stealers, it was simply and only just a metaphorical educational example for just paying his lovers attention to know that they must brotherly and sympathy teach one another for removing the ignorance, because the ignorance is always the main reason behind all crimes. So, of course, either both the two unhappiness words, the crime and the punishment, are unreal things. Why? Simply because of not relating them both to such real word of love, meaning such real word of happiness, meaning also such real word of paradise, which of course is the staple root of such real, beautiful, fruitful tree, that all real words are really the branches of it as well. Such real, beautiful, fruitful tree that must really be a real existence in either, of course, the God lover first life and his hereafter as well, and also in either both his outside and his inside as well. That's all of it. Better also here to remember the first lesson of proper love that both Adam, his wife, and all God lovers already learned as well, which is never ever at all come close to think whatever any improper thinking in such incomparable bestowed proving generosity by such a beautiful lover God towards the God lover. Such incomparable bestowed proving generosity, which is the most obvious proof upon such incomparable kind of love by such a beautiful lover God toward his lover, because this improper thinking leads to more and more improper thinking, which as well, of course, means more and more steps toward getting yourself outside the paradise, where nothing, then, of course, over there, but only the hell fire, meaning exactly the unhappiness. So, congratulations to each real God lover who always seriously cares about carefully and deeply reading such his beautiful lover God message, for then properly understanding as it has to be, and then also properly implying as it has to be, and then also be really happy, of course, as well. So, such a beautiful lover God has simply as usual explained to his lover, for getting him to understand that neither Jesus nor Yahuwah was punished or tortured by being killed or by being crucified, as some people misunderstand, while what was actually being killed is such ignorance. Ignorance of what does the paradise exactly mean, such ignorance that leads to unhappiness, which has properly and metaphorically been named by such a beautiful lover God, such that alarming name, the hellfire, because the ignorance of what does the paradise mean is the main reason behind all whatever any kind of crimes, guilties, or unhappiness. So, as we can obviously see, neither Jesus nor Yahuwah was punished by being killed or by being crucified, as some people misunderstand, but it was the ignorance that had to be killed or removed by such a beautiful love of God. How? It simply means that it had to be completely and obviously explained by such a beautiful love of God to his real lovers, that the real God lover never ever at all be died, because simply he properly loves such his beautiful lover God, who is the never, who is the ever alive, and never ever at all be died. And also such a beautiful lover God has lovely and generously presented the eternity to his real faithful lovers. So they never ever at all be died by whatever any way, neither by crucifying nor also by any other severe way else. So, oppression as an unhappiness word is nothing. It is just and only one of those unhappiness words that have been inspired, just inspired by such a beautiful lover God to his lover, as a metaphorical educational example, so that the God lover can then to simply distinguish the difference between the real happiness, which exactly means his own paradise, that he of course won by his proper understanding from such his beautiful love of God, while on the other hand, the hellfire is only and exactly his own unhappiness by his improper understanding from such his beautiful love of God as well. So, Once the real God lovers going to be targeted by those oppressors, he will of course be rescued by being raised to such his own beautiful paradise by of course such his beautiful lover God before those oppressors' hands can ever touch him. This is undoubtedly an ever unchangeable habit by such a beautiful lover God with all his real lovers along all times as well. So, those oppressors were and are still targeting nothing but only the eyes of real God lovers, for turning it from being beautiful eyes that get used always to see the beauty to become bad envious eyes that get used to see every bad unbeautiful thing, and then pretend that this is the real happiness, this is the paradise, while it is undoubtedly not. It is impossible at all way or another to believe that the envy can ever be a part of such a beautiful paradise, meaning a part of such real happiness. The paradise means exactly the happiness, means also exactly the love. So, reasonably, it is done mercy and sympathy that can be a part of the paradise, a part of the real happiness, not of course the envy or whatever any other unhappiness word as well, which all must be considered as nothing, as unreal things that must never ever at all be existed, neither in the first life of the God lover nor also in the hereafter of him as well. So those oppressors were and will still be nothing at all, but just and only a blackboard upon which such a beautiful lover God gets his real lover to properly know the truth. And we now already know the truth. It is undoubtedly such a beautiful lover God real existence, and of course the most obvious beautiful proof upon that it is undoubtedly the truth is such this beautiful paradise of each one God lover, that such his beautiful lover God has lovely and generously created him in, specifically in the first floor of it, which exactly is his first world life. This is simply all of it. So, congratulation again and again and forever from such a beautiful lover God to each one of his real lovers, who always carefully cares about properly reading such his beautiful lover God message, for them properly understanding from such his beautiful lover God, and then also properly implies, and then also being really happy as well. So, for those who carelessly don't care about properly understanding to such beautiful lover God message, and that's why they then insist on understanding the word punishment that's mentioned in the message verses as if it indicates to a real punishment, not as just a metaphorical educational example, and also insist on understanding those verses as punishmental verses that must then be implied, meaning they want, for example, to cut the arms of stealers and stone the fornicators. We can honestly tell them that they must know if they want to justly punish the criminal because of the crime, they must justly punish first of all the whole reasons were behind the crime, meaning the whole who were pun- the way, meaning the whole who were pushing the criminal to commit the crime, which actually means punishing the whole people around the criminal as well, starting of course with the most rational people, the messengers, and their as well faithful followers, one after one, and so on. Which also means an of course impossible case that can ever at all way or another be happened, or also can be ever mainly aimed by such a pitiful love of God as well. So, when those oppressors someday wanted to punish a woman by stoning her because they said she was a fornicator, Jesus already knew that it is them who were the oppressors. It is them who were the real criminals. So that's why he said to them, if you want to justly punish her as a criminal by stoning her, so all of us also must justly be punished by stoning as well, because all of us were behind her crime. All of us were pushing her to commit the crime by not taking care of her. For example, by not properly teaching to her the proper. Also by not properly feeding her the proper. Also by not properly covering her naked body by the proper. So, all of us are the real criminals, while she is just an only one of more and more innocent victims as well. Of course, none of them can ever pronounce a word because they all completely knew that it is, of course, they themselves who really were the real criminals, not the woman. So, better also here to remember that such a key word. So, better also here to remember that such key word, which is the proper. It can also be an already obvious and reasonable norm upon which we can simply and exactly know the kinds of people. So better also here to remember that such key word, which is the proper, that can also be an already obvious and reasonable norm upon which we can simply and exactly know the kinds of people, who will then totally and always be divided into two kinds. The first kind is of course those members of the party of Satan, who all carelessly don't care completely about properly understanding from such a pitiful lover God his message to his lovers. The second kind is of course the members of the party of such a pitiful lover God, who must all carefully and completely care about properly understanding from such his beautiful lover God his message to his lovers. While the levels or the degrees of them are not equals, in such they're carefully and completely caring about properly understanding from such his beautiful lover God, from such a beautiful lover God, his message to his lovers. Which means we can say the degrees of them are not equals as faithful and real God lovers. Because who really wants to properly love, because who really wants to properly love such his beautiful lover God, he will find himself wants always to carefully and completely know all what it has to be known about his beautiful lover. To, of course, properly and really love him as much as he can. And that what, of course, can never ever at all be but by only one thing, which is such a carefully reading to such a beautiful lover God's words message. So it's over. It's only one way. Therefore, the best level or the best degree then is of course such that real God lover who will always be carefully and completely caring about properly understanding from such beautiful lover God his message to his lover. And so, on the other hand, the whole other levels or degrees remained can then come after that. Better also here to remember that it was and will always still be such a same love story in between such a beautiful lover God and his lover along all times as well. In fact, we actually do mean here by such a same love story such those same habits by such a beautiful lover God toward his lovers along all times as well. For example, his habit was always and will still be supporting his lovers for making them overcoming their enemies. So, who has mainly aimed created enemies and pushing them against the God lovers as well? Of course, it is such a beautiful lover God himself. Why? That's right. For of course, showing his lovers, his proving supporting to them as a grace while they are facing their enemies. His proving supporting to them as a grace and as also a proving preparation, meaning as an obvious proof upon the truth, meaning upon his real love to them. For of course, teaching to them the truth by its proof upon it is undoubtedly the truth. Whether how then could they obviously know and undoubtedly believe in the truth? Meaning, how then could they obviously know and undoubtedly believe in that such their beautiful lover God really loved them as well? So, of course, it had to be the enemies as just an only one of more and more obvious proving preparations, which had to come one after one another, of course, by such a beautiful love of God, for totally and then finally to prove the truth, meaning to prove such a beautiful love of God's real existence and his real love to his lovers as well. Isn't it? Of course it is. So now, better also here to distinguish the difference in between both two words, the competition and the conflict. So, the conflict will always reasonably still be existed only in between the party of such a beautiful lover God and the party of Satan, while the competition will always reasonably still be existed only in between such a beautiful lover God party members themselves. So, simply, the Pharaoh and his soldiers, as approving preparation in the time of the messenger Moses, were exactly also just like the Caesar and his soldiers in the time of the messenger Jesus. They were also exactly as well like whatever any other bad soldiers along all times as a whole, meaning the whole of them must be considered as just the enemies of such a pitiful lover God party. So that's why they must then be reasonably considered by such pitiful lover God party members as just and only one of more and more proving preparations upon the truth. That's all of it. May someone say, my point of view is that this summarization is an invitation to weakness. So, as a matter of fact, the most simple, reasonable reply on this point of view is my point of view as the writer of this beautiful summarization is this summarization is really an invitation, but to such that exact and proper understand to the truth that such a beautiful lover God himself has lovely and generously aimed getting his lover to exactly, properly, and obviously understand, and then undoubtedly believe in, so that the power of his undoubted believing as a real God lover can then never ever at all be overcome, because this is undoubtedly, of course, the real power. So, from now on, our talk, our study, and our work must then be simply, properly, and shortly summarized in the paradise in and the paradise is not. And when we say the paradise is not, it of course means the hellfire, which has been lovely, generously, and metaphorically named by such a beautiful lover God, such that alarming name, the hellfire, just to simply indicate to the unhappiness by not caring about properly understanding from such a beautiful lover God his message to his lover as well. So the paradise then neither a fetish man who is gathering some woman around him on the internet, nor also a fetish woman who is gathering some men around her as well. As a matter of fact, the main reason behind all problems or obstacles along times in this first life of the God lover is always the ignorance, which is pushing to whole bad moralities, meaning to whole bad behaviors, which includes the exaggeration either in doing the right or in doing the wrong. As a matter of fact, exaggeration in doing the right gets the exaggerator completely outside the right, while, on the other hand, exaggeration in doing wrong leads the exaggerator to, of course, more and more wrong. So here we are. As we can obviously see, the exaggeration, way or another, is one of the main reasons behind all problems or obstacles or mistakes, guilties or crimes along all times in this first life of the God lover. Notes also that the paradise is the eternal and complete happy life. Notes also that the paradise is the eternal and complete happy life. Not just any kind of life. It is the happy life, which means the real life. The real life can never ever at all be or named real life unless it must be a happy life. Whether it is not the paradise, it is the hell fire, meaning metaphorically the unhappiness, meaning also nothing which is a human being can neither at all die in nor also live in as well. Now, if it is a last word that can be said before the last word, I just want to ask you for something. Would you please, lovely and generously, while you are listening to me, just listen to me as a sign, as a proving sign sent to you by such your beautiful lover God, proving, proving, proving sign upon such incomparable kind of love by such your beautiful lover God to you. Just notes, just think of it carefully and deeply. Notes that my mother tongue is not English language. Notes that my mother tongue is not English language, but Arabic language. So, in spite of that, just take a look at me while you are listening to me, while I am also talking to you. Who has lovely and generously aimed pushing me for being able to talk to you with such this perfect English language and with such a beautiful love of God message verses words as well. Someone may say, are you trying to say that you are a messenger? I am really a messenger, sent already to you from such your beautiful lover God, as a one of more and more proving preparations upon his real love to you. Each person advises his brothers and sisters, even just an only one advice must be really and already considered as a messenger sent from such a beautiful lover God to his lovers as well. Better also to know here that the messengers sent by such a beautiful lover God as a moral leadership for specifically making each person a messenger. Whether why then has such a beautiful lover God sent a messenger? Better also here to remember such a proper way of love by the God lover to his God. It is such whole beautiful moralities, meaning also exactly the religion, meaning also exactly the worshipping. So please just notes also. So please just notes also. The rhythm of my talking to you and how it is not just like that ordinary, quick rhythm of nowadays talking, which of course indicates that they really don't have a real or serious message they try to carefully and reasonably inform as well. So, if I would like to ask you for something, so would you please just lovely and generously listen to me as a proving sign sent to you by such your beautiful lover God, as just an only one of such those proving preparations, meaning as just an only one of such those uncountable bestow proving graces, proving upon such your beautiful lover God, proving upon such your beautiful lover God, proving upon such your beautiful lover God love to you, such your beautiful lover God who has lovely and generously bestowed to you such uncountable, beautiful bestow proving graces and the most beautiful obvious proof upon the truth, meaning upon such your beautiful lover God, real existence, which you of course must undoubtedly believe in by the proof as a real thing. So, once again, if I would like to ask you for something, so would you please just lovely and generously listen to me as a proving sign, sent to you by such your beautiful lover God, as just and only one of such those proving preparations, meaning as just and only one of those uncountable bestow proving graces, proving upon such your beautiful lover God love to you, such your beautiful lover God who has lovely and generously bestowed to you such uncountable beautiful bestow proving graces, and the most beautiful obvious proof upon the truth, meaning upon such your beautiful lover God real existence, which you of course must undoubtedly believe in by the proof as a real thing. Now listen please to this main line. The real existence. As a matter of fact, the real existence of such this seen world move is undoubtedly the most obvious proof upon such real singular creator existence, who has of course not created aimlessly, but for an of course certain beautiful aim, meaning the real existence of such this seen world move is obviously a real existence of very disciplined move by each creature toward a very real certain beautiful aim, which is actually looking for reaching eternal and complete happiness, which of course means exactly the paradise, such eternal happiness that of course can never ever be any way cut off, as also the complete happiness that can never ever be decreased anyway as well. So the question always will still be in what time exactly the creature can realize that there is a really something named the eternal and complete happiness, meaning the paradise, and what can he do for winning it as well. Please listen again to this main line. The real existence. As a matter of fact, the real existence of such this seen world move is undoubtedly the most obvious proof upon such real singular creator existence, who has, of course, not created aimlessly, but for an, of course, certain beautiful aim, meaning the real existence of such this seen world move is obviously a real existence of very disciplined move by each creature toward a very real certain beautiful aim, which is actually looking for reaching eternal and complete happiness, which of course means exactly the paradise. Such eternal and complete, such eternal happiness that of course can never ever be in a way cut off, as also the complete happiness that can never ever be decreased anyway as well. So the question always, the question always will still be in what time exactly the creature can realize that there is a really something named eternal and complete happiness, meaning the paradise, and what can he do for winning it as well. Now, building on such most important keywords, with which such a beautiful lover God has lovely and generously aimed getting his lover to know the truth, such a keyword which is the proper. Let us directly go for the another proper mean line, another proper detailed explanation, which is coming as usual properly and already in its certain place as well, which is coming as usual properly and already in its certain place in such a beautiful bestowed proving paradise complete building as well. Another mean line, another detailed explanation by of course such a beautiful love of God upon the truth, that it is undoubtedly the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The mean line which is properly and already with us now is the same beautiful lover God aim, also the same beautiful lover God message, also the same beautiful lover God religion. Listen to this main line again, please. The same beautiful lover God aim, also then the same beautiful lover God message, also the same beautiful lover God religion as well. Also, as long as such a beautiful lover got aim behind started creating all his previous and the next lovers nations as a whole is such that same beautiful aim. So, no wonder then at all that the beautiful God message to them all, which proves such his same aim behind started creating them all, which is really the paradise, meaning the happiness, is reasonably also the same message, which of course must also reasonably contain the same religion to them all as well. So, whatever the name of your language, whatever the name of your country, whatever the color of your skin, you are a real beautiful lover to such your beautiful lover God, meaning you are a real believer, meaning you are a real religious as well. So, again and again, congratulations from such our beautiful lover God to each real beautiful God lover. Again and again, congratulations forever from such our beautiful lover God to each real beautiful God lover, whether it is a female or male as well, because of such beautiful paradise of both beautiful permanent kinds of love, in between such a beautiful lover God and his beautiful lover as well. Now, if it is a last word that can be said before coming to the end of those beautiful episodes, it must be said that the more such my beautiful lover God presents to me more proper understanding from him, now if it is a last word that can be said before coming to the end of those beautiful episodes, it must be said that the more such my beautiful lover God presents to me proper understanding, the more it must be said that the more such my beautiful lover God presents to me more proper understanding from him about anything, which of course will be present to us more and more happiness, either in this first life or in the hereafter as well. So it's me who will honestly and immediately come to you to present to you such a beautiful present as well. So now it is, as we can obviously see, it's never ending love, never ending happiness, never ending beautiful episodes as well. Now, if it is a last word that can be said before coming to the end of those beautiful episodes, it must be said that the more such my beautiful lover God presents to me more proper understanding for him, from him about anything, which of course will present to us more and more happiness either in this first life or in the hereafter as well. So it's me who will honestly and immediately come to you to present to you such a beautiful present as well. So now it's, as we can obviously see, it is never ending love, never ending happiness, never ending beautiful episodes as well. So now all of us as God lovers, either on this internet or anywhere else, must then seriously be more and more positive as much as we can. So therefore we all, of course, must seriously all the time keep in touch with each other, for keep studying such this beautiful lover God message, which of course contains the real eternal and complete happiness, including of course such a proper way of love, which is a real love to such a beautiful lover God, can never ever be proved by the God lover without such a proper way of love, which means simply the worshipping, meaning the religion, meaning such those whole beautiful moralities that represented simply by such a beautiful lover God in all what it has to be properly done by the God lover, and also in all what it has not as well, through which the God lover can then really and properly prove his real proper love to such his beautiful lover God as well. Now we come to the end of this episode. So see in the next episodes another mean lines with its detailed explanation, of course by such a beautiful lover God, upon that it is undoubtedly the truth, and also upon the truth, and also upon that the truth is just only one proper thing, also only one proper way to know the truth. It is such a proper understanding the truth word from the creator of its image, its letter, its meaning, and its proof upon it is undoubtedly the truth. And as we can and as we can now obviously see, the truth is such most beautiful word that such a beautiful lover God has lovely and generously created the creature for, meaning for getting the creature to know, to understand the truth, as of course such a beautiful lover God wants the truth word to be exactly understood. That's also why the truth can never ever at all be understood except from only such a beautiful lover God words message as well. So till we meet again in the next episode, I love you.